Slurpy up my G's. Hope you're all doing well. Going to do a really, really short and quick little tip today, slash little motivational kind of tutorial on the problem with one-shot hats or the problem with using one-shots and how you can quickly make them just that little bit better that really makes them just a little bit better, you know? It's something that I've noticed on like Zoom sessions with people that are more in the beginner sphere, but you know, sometimes I forget to do it as well. I've got a beat here with a one-shot hi-hat, so rather than using a loop, I normally prefer to use like loops because they're already super natural and they've been, you know, they have there's a dynamic, well, in good hat loops, you know, there's a good natural rhythm and sort of human feeling. But sometimes we end up having to use one-shot hats for one reason or another. So I've got this kind of beat here with a kick and snare and the hat. And it's just a bit choppy and a bit odd still because I'm using a one-shot. And this is, what I've done is I've used actually two different one-shots, so they alternate. So it's not the exact same thing, because that's the first thing you want to do is make each alternate hi-hat shot slightly different. You can do it with velocity or volume, or there's many different ways, but I prefer to find like two samples that are similar so that it's almost like two separate recordings of the same hat. So you kind of just, you hear a little pitch kind of difference on it, so it's like dun 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 dun. Very subtle, but makes a massive difference to your ears, like not being able to detect that it's the exact same frequency. So that's the first thing. But assuming that you've done that, next thing with your one shots, which is really the whole idea of this video, and it's really, really simple, is to put reverb on them, because where you have the gap between them and no audio information because you're using like audio files, it's like just what I say is just it's a digital void, you know? It's a digital void in the fact that it's pure nothingness. There's no room, there's no like, you know, it's super, super unnatural. So what you need to do is you need to put a proper tail on your one shots every single time, because if there's not a tail that's detectable to the ear on there, it will feel really, really artificial always. Yeah. So that's not really what we want. We want the music to sound organic still. So all you have to do, and like you won't even really notice it or hear it half the time, but it will just put the sound out of a digital void and into like reality. Okay, so all I would do is like a chroma reverb, for example, and this one is like super like too long, but let me just I like the chroma reverb because you can have the dry wet separate, so any reverb will do, but one way you can kind of leave the dry up at 100 and then control the wet separately is better for me. So there it's kind of long enough. You know, I've just the high end of the reverb is all you really need, you know, because that's the, you know, where you've got the most space in your track to add extra content in. Okay, so I've got one there. I'm gonna make it a little bit shorter. And now I'm literally going to take the wet down like so low that you basically won't even sort of hear it. So 1% maybe. 1% is already going to be, if I take that off, I can already detect it in my ears, you know, at 1%. But if I turn it up a bit, at 3%, I can definitely hear the tail on there, you know. And it's still super, super subtle and super, super quiet, but I can like 100% feel that digital void between the one shots is now gone. Yeah, so that because that reverb is sort of tailing over into like the whole space. So let's leave it at 3% because then it's kind of a bit more realistic. You can kind of hear it a little bit better. And if I just sort of zoom in really quickly, you'll see here that if I really, 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 really zoom in, you see that it's kind of difficult to detect the audio there, but there is, I believe that, you know, around here in this sort of silence, if I bring it back here, yeah, you can. If I was to turn that up, obviously, you would see, there is actually audio information there. So although it's super, super low and basically almost at zero, there's some audio information of the sample there. So that's the most important thing, is to have something rather than nothing. Okay. So if I go back then and yeah, just kind of bring these up a bit here quickly again. Okay. So put my reverb back on quickly. Yeah, so even at this 3%, barely detectable, but it will fill in the gaps with audio information from the hat, which will make it not feel like it's in an unrealistic digital void of the door. Yeah, so just having that room reverb on your one shots will massively improve the realism of your drums. Okay, so if you don't do this, your drums will sound very unnatural and not anywhere near as good as they could. Okay, and it's a subtle detail. It's literally a couple of percent will do. It's not about having a reverb that you can really you really want to focus on or hear. It's about just eliminating the digital void that literally makes the listener feel like there's something wrong. So yeah, make sure you do that on every time you use one shots. Get rid of that digital void just by having a tiny bit of reverb, and then you'll get a more realistic drum sound, just by the feeling of it. The feeling of it will be more realistic. And yeah, it's not about, I can't stress it enough, it's not about having a lot of reverb that you can hear. It's about getting rid of that sort of feeling that there's something wrong. Yeah. So hopefully that's a helpful little tip for you guys. Yeah, much love to all of you. Thanks for all of your comments and everything recently. I try to respond to everyone when I can. And yeah, glad the little tutorials and things that I'm doing are helping you guys out on your production journey. Much love, my G's. As always, if you want to support the channel, subscribe to my Patreon, join my Discord community, check out my preset packs on my website, or you can hit me up for one-on-one mentorship as well. The links are all down below. And yeah, big ups. Have a wicked rest of your day. Peace.